Hi friends, it's Teresa coming to you after a few days of being absent. I just had a busy day, including yesterday having a gas leak in the house and having to call the gas company and the plumber to come out. It was in the water heater upstairs, and there was a flame that was near the gas leak, and I guess it was God who protected us from what could have inevitably happened. But that's been kind of typical of the last 3 days, so I've been away a little while, but I'm back, and I need to do another video because I've been down, and it's getting into the Word that really lifts me up, and nothing else much does when I am depressed. So I know that when I'm suffering from depression, usually I am away from the Word and prayer and doing things that God has enabled me to do if I just have access to it, which goes along with today's lesson. I said that I was starting to do some lessons from Psalm 23, and so far I have just done, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down." But today I'm just centering my thoughts around 3 words, and that is "in green pastures." Trust me, I know precious little about geography. As a matter of fact, I have proof, because here is my school memories and records of school years that I kept for myself. And you will see in 7th grade, I made an A- in Miss Forbes' geography class. So this is what I looked like, and this is the last time I had a geography class. So I do not know about where anything is, present day or past. I know nothing about the terrain in foreign countries. And today, about the only thing I know is I'm wearing a necklace for the first time, and my husband bought this for me when he went to the Holy Lands a few years ago with our church that tries to go at least every other year and take a group of Christians with them. He bought this for me near the Dead Sea near the Dead Sea, and it is, I actually have the authentication. It is glass. This is the authentication. I am now the proud owner of a unique piece of jewelry designed and handcrafted by the artist of Roman glass at, I cannot pronounce the word, Sapphirem Rehav, and it is inlaid with a fragment of ancient glass discovered in an archaeological excavation in the Holy Land, and it is approximately 2,000 years old. So it is my knowledge of the Holy Lands. I have precious little understanding of where David was about Psalm 23, but I do know from my studies and from reading the book, A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23, is that in that area, I asked Phil today what kind of land was there, and he said dry and arid and rocky soil. So that is very significant when we are studying Psalm 23, because the shepherd makes the sheep lie down in green pastures, which means in order for them to lay down in green pastures, he had to work hard to let them do that. He had to, according to the author of A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23, he had to clear the land of brush, roots, and stumps. He had to plow deeply and carefully. He had to seed and plant the grains and legumes. So if you can imagine having to do that before the sheep can even lay down in green pastures, and then once they clear that soil of the green pastures, then he would have to do that in a separate pasture so they could move and be fed lush again. So when I started to read about that in green pastures and the seed and the soil, it automatically threw me into the parable of the seed, which is in Mark 4 that I'm referring to today. And so let me read, because we know the first 3 soils did not bear any fruit. So the seed sowed along the path was the word. As soon as they hear it, Satan comes and takes away the word that was sown in them. Others, like seed sown on rocky places, hear the word and at once receive it with joy. So here I'm seeing, to a sheep, I'm seeing a hard path. I am seeing a rocky path. And since they have no root, they last only a short time. Then when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. And others, like seed sown among thorns, hear the word, but the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desire for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. I believe that the majority, even of Christians, not even counting the world, but I'm saying even Christians, fall under this category. And I don't think that may be a judgment call, but I believe that from what I see, this is what distracts people from the word. So we see what the deceitfulness of wealth and the desire for other things, what that does is it takes up all of the richness of the soil and it chokes the seed. It chokes the word. We are so busy gathering this and that and the worries of this life that the word is at the bottom of the list and we do not even have time to dwell in it. So the seed that falls is distracted and unable to reach the ground to produce a good crop, any crop. But then it says, others like seed sown on good soil, hear the word, accept it, and produce a crop 30, 60, or even 100 times what was sown. So I see a person today who has not been around the word, around the seed that is sown, who is dwelling during this pandemic in very arid, dry soil. So they are frightened, they are not healthy, they are not large sheep that have dwelt in green pastures, so they see the downside or the negative in what is going on. I want to read something that I found yesterday on Facebook that tells the positives of what's going on if we but look at it. And this is called On the Bright Side. It says, no school shootings, traffic is gone, gas is affordable, bills extended, kids are at home with their families, parents are home taking care of their children, fast food has been replaced by home-cooked meals, hectic schedules are replaced by naps, rest, and relaxation, the air seems cleaner, the world quieter, people are conscious about hygiene and health, money does not seem to make the world go round anymore. Doctors, nurses, and teachers are being praised and recognized instead of athletes and celebrities, and we now have time, finally, to stop and smell the roses. The positive side above all, God's way of telling us to slow down and focus on Him and what is important. I amen that. I totally amen that. And I say we do not have to go back to that time and age if we put God first and following His kingdom and His righteousness. So there are a couple of passages that I want you to hold on to about what all God has done for us that maybe we are slowing down and recognizing today. And that is from 2 Peter 1:3. And I've mentioned this as one of my favorite verses that I hold on to when I think, oh, woe is me, I'm being rained on. So it says, His divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness. And that includes now. That is not excluding now. That is including now with all of the difficulties that we are having, wondering about the future. For life and godliness through our own knowledge of Him who called us by His own glory and goodness. Okay, through our own knowledge of Him. I have said before to Phil that worldly people who do not know God ought to feel bad. They ought to be the most miserable people in the whole world because they do not have God to fall back on. So, the other verse that I want you to hold on to that I absolutely love comes from Psalm 37, 23, and 24, which tells us how Jesus is the good shepherd. and how he lays us down in green pastures, lush pastures, so we can be close to him, so we can be well fed if we are in the Word through our knowledge of him. Love this verse in Psalm 37. The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall, for the Lord holds them by the hand. The Lord holds us by the hand. It's up to us to never, ever let go. Now, also, when I was reading today, I forgot that this passage is in Psalm 37 that I found and held onto when I was in my 30s, because Phil and I were going through a difficult financial time. And I was reading these passages in Psalm 37, and I came to this verse, which is right after, though we stumble, we will not fall, for the Lord upholds us with his hand. So I found verse 25, and it says, I was young and now I'm old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread. And I went, oh my, the penny dropped, and I thought, the righteous were my parents. They were my parents. And it says, I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging bread. And I was my parents' child. So that gave me hope that because I had a history of righteousness through my parents, and I knew how much they were giving and how godly they were, that I, as their child, would never have to beg for bread. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that regardless of my need, my want, that God will supply it somehow, some way, even in ways when I'm least expecting it. What is the progression of knowledge of God? And I found this years ago, and it still works. We hear, we read, we study, we memorize, we meditate on his word. I will never tell you to put a secular book ahead of the word of God. If you have a choice in time, if you have a limited amount of time, fill that time, preferably early in the morning or whenever you have time to, with the Word of God. You can hear it with a million apps that we have where you can turn it on to where you hear the reader reading it to you. You don't even have to read it. Or you can read it, or you can study it like I have studied today, which is so rich. Or you can even memorize it, which is the next step, and then you can meditate on it. When you get to the words, when you get to the meditation level, you can take one verse, one word, and meditate on it, and it will give you a feast that you can live on, which goes to the green, lush pastures that Jesus gives us. You can only go to one word and you can be fed for days and weeks and even years when you think about it. I love studying. I'm glad that I've gone to Psalm 23 and I'm using it as a springboard for my studying, and that these lessons can be so rich even on 3 words like in green pastures. God is great. Life is good. Hope does not disappoint us. And I choose joy. I got those 2 mixed up, but that's okay. I choose joy. Hope does not disappoint us. Love you guys. Looking forward to next time.